Let me start this video off by saying I've modified a lot of blasters, and I've made a lot of custom blasters, and none of them sing to me as much as the Nerf rival Hera pistol. This thing's awesome. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a Hera, it's been made into a pistol, lots of people have already done that. In fact, when the Hera first came out, I saw Nerf Gun Attachments had one, and I said you should totally make that into a pistol, and he did. The Madman! And it's pretty darn awesome. In fact, he let me cameo in the video, which made me very, very happy. You should check it out in the card in the corner. However, I now have my own Nerf rival Hera pistol because the Hera is actually out everywhere now, so I was able to pick one up with special thanks to Beret, and I modified it into a pistol. Obviously, everybody knew I was going to do that, so what's the point of watching this video? Well, mine has a nifty little function. It double taps. It will fire 2 balls with 1 trigger pull. And it's very useful. Now, with mine, it's a little bit finicky, and the entire mod guide for this thing, I wouldn't even need to do, because I copied Drew, name I can't possibly pronounce right, Rozik? His channel will be linked down in the description box, so of course in the card, and he put up a very effortless guide on how to make this thing mechanically have a 2-shot burst. He doesn't have a firing demonstration for it, which when you get it together and you get it firing, you're like, okay, this should work fine. When I put a magazine in here and actually tried to fire balls out of it, I was having some issues. If you don't pull the trigger in the right way, it doesn't fire the 2-shot burst the right way. It takes a lot of practice, at least on mine. I can easily fix that if somebody can tell me what's going wrong, but whatever. I've already got the thing, I've already made the video, so who the heck cares? It's awesome still! I mean, the idea of being able to pull the trigger and get a pop-up instead of a pop, or even just mashing the trigger and getting pop, 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 pop. The double shot ability on this thing is really, really cool. And that gives it a lot of boost in a performance competitive standpoint. Conformance, is that what I tried to say? That is really, really important, because rival balls are not exactly all that accurate after a certain kind of distance, because they lose their momentum really quickly due to them kind of having flat shapes. I mean, I know they have the holes on them that help with the aerodynamics, but they still lose their velocity a lot faster than darts, which means they're more susceptible to wind and stuff like that. If you fire 2 of them, it's a lot easier for you to hit your target, it's a lot harder to dodge, and it's just more fun. I mean, why wouldn't you want to shoot 2 at once? Why do you think I modify everything to shoot 2 darts at once, or 2 darts really, really fast? I mean, there's a reason for that, and this blaster does it with just 1, which is great, because I know somebody said, like, you should make it into, like, a delete. No. It's too thick. It would be massive. I'm not looking forward to doing something like that, but thankfully I don't have to, because I have a double-tap rival Hera pistol. Now, would this thing be a secondary or a sidearm, as a pistol should be? No. It is massive. It is probably not even going to fit in my tool pouch on my battle belt, and there's no point to really put a sling on it. I guess you can add one if you wanted to, and a holster that will fit this thing, I really freaking doubt it. But, since I like to run pistols as primaries, and I love my hand cannons, this will work just fine for me, and my gosh, is it nice to have, unlike a Zeus, a grip-fed flywheeler. And did I mention on a 3S LiPo this thing performs like an absolute beast? Seriously, rival is scary sometimes. Now, it still doesn't outrange the best of darts, but it does perform really freaking well, and it will go toe-to-toe with pretty much anything except for the most extremely powerful springers, and maybe even some, like, you know, afterburnered flywheels and stuff like that. I mean, the velocity is extremely high, even stock, let alone modified, and then the distance gets kicked up to, you know, really, really good high numbers. I'm losing descriptive words here because I'm holding this thing and I just want to empty the magazine into the camera because I love this blaster. It's very, very good. The Hera is relatively easy to modify. Adding in that 2-shot burst is, again, really easy to do. The only issue with the Hera is that it is a pain in the junk to get this thing to have a new micro switch. If you're doing a complete rewire on it, my gosh, is it difficult. Luckily for me, Michelle from Foam Blast sent me a very, very beautiful tiny cherry micro switch. That's a 10 amp switch, not a 21 amp switch, but It worked really well, especially once I cut the leads off the end to make them just slightly smaller. It fits where the original microswitch did, no problem, which made it really easy to get this thing wired up. And of course, it's just 2 motors, so, you know, 2 wires. It's really, really dumb easy. And, well, I've done a lot of body work, but I also included a voltmeter down here. Again, none of this stuff is finalized, but it's glued in there. It works really well. Here's the cuts I did, just to kind of give you an idea. Not very good at this documenting my steps kind of thing. I'm actually slacking on that pretty hard because really when I just try to hammer out these kinds of mods, I just kind of freaking do them. So this is my take on the whole Hera pistol thing. You can see my cuts right there are not great. There's some spots down here I think I'm going to fill up with the bottom of that rail that was attached there. And then of course this shortened part right here. I'm not sure if anybody has done it quite like this yet, but the cut I did here, basically cutting right there and then sandwiching the whole back piece onto the back of, well, I removed all of this crap right here. But the point is, I don't know if anybody, I haven't watched any others besides the Drew Rozic, I think his name was, the guy who did the double burst mod, which I've conveniently already done to the internals here. 1, 2. Awesome. I'm going to mention him in the video, but I wanted to keep the actual battery tray. So if I were to, this is really hard to do one-handed. I didn't really think this through. I'm going to remove that piece, which will fall out. I don't have these conjoined yet, but they will, and you can see in there what I was going at, but I kept the actual screw thing, so once I conjoin those 2 pieces together, I'll have an actual battery door still. And, of course, my LiPo perfectly fits in there. So, no problems there. This thing is going to be an absolute beast, but I just kind of wanted to give a close-up of my cutting marks. Now, I did, of course, pop the black pieces off, kind of measured about where the end of the circle was on the other side of the white thing that's removed there, and I cut that off rather generously, I might add. There's actually still some size in there, and then I kind of cut it and then sanded it down a bit and tried to get into this, and I removed almost all of that plastic with just my old Gunpla snippers here. Removed a lot of the plastic. See, this side I screwed up royally on. I'm pretty upset about that. This side turned out much, much, much better. You can see what's going on. And then I just kind of lined them up right there. You can see the original texture marks and everything like that. And then I just joined them together. I mean, even if I were to do the step-by-step, it would be the same process, but I removed these first, measured where I wanted that, cut it, and then I tacked it with hot glue, which is what the hot glue gun is there. And then I got it basically, after I cut this back end off, I glued it back together, stuck it kind of where I wanted it, tacked it with hot glue, then took the thing, glued that together, measured where I wanted, and everything up, did the cuts, took it back off, removed the hot glue that joined these 2 pieces together, put it back on, so it was relatively there, tacked it on the sides, that way I could take the halves of the shell off, and then I went on the inside with, of course, beautiful, super useful DevCon plastic welder, the best, absolute best. Tacked that in there pretty crazily. Used quite a bit. I don't think I'm going to use any putty. I might cheat right there and use some putty around the edges and then Gundam marker white it, because I think that's a pretty similar white. But at a distance, you wouldn't notice that. So, I mean, from here you can't even tell. So I don't see what the point is. And then, yeah, once I got that in, I could just kind of set the black piece there, and I looked at it and then just started. I did a couple of marks, which you can see actually right there. And then I just basically went at it the Mr. Nathan kind of way, but I don't have his nice plastic snippers, so I just use these and just kind of clip to get stuff out. It worked pretty darn well for me. And then this one, I cut off basically right there. That still gives a little bit of a tail right there, protecting the magazine release, but will work fine. And like I said, up in there, I'm going to get it with this piece. Just going to fit that in there, cut it out at the bottom, which will add some more black in here and hide this all roughness, and yeah, relatively very easy to do. The entire modification is dead simple. I just used this thing, and yeah, there's an entire, I mean, I'll link this in the actual video, but yeah, you just make this thing, and I mean, there's 2 motors there to wire. I think the hardest part about all this is going to be fitting the rev trigger in there, but if Nerf Gun Attachments can do it, I can totally do it, so I really don't know what else to say. The Nerf rival Hera pistol is awesome. I highly recommend you make one. Everybody's kind of done a different one at this point, so really, just do whatever you think looks cool and feels right, and if you want to, I didn't want to paint this right now, but you could totally, you know, fill in all the spots with putty and paint it and make it even cooler. I mean, it's just an awesome blaster. For $60, the Hera is kind of a hard sell because it does perform identical to a Zeus, just really easy to reload as opposed to a Zeus, but costing $10 more, kind of a steep price, but this was a lot of fun and really easy to do, and I do highly recommend you get your hands on a Nerf rival Hera pistol. Again, and especially if it's like, if you can rewire a Strife, you can rewire this thing, no problem. It's just that micro switch can be kind of a pain. I do recommend having a Dremel and stuff and a file. And I really wish I could get the double shot mechanism to work a little bit more smoothly in this one. It does work, it's just really, really finicky on mine, and I'm not quite sure. Drew, Rosix, whatever, his guide is great, he doesn't have a firing demo. And I'm a little disappointed that even though it mechanically works fine, for some reason, if you just don't pull the trigger right, it won't fire the double shot right. Like that. It clicked twice, but I only got 1 ball out of it. But that time I got 2. It's so temperamental, and it's going to take a lot of practice for me to get that down with this blaster. It's just a certain way of pulling the trigger, just like on a lot of other blasters. Like, what was it I just reviewed recently? The Quattro blast, the flip cylinders in the Dart Zone blaster. That one, again, you'd have to pull the trigger the right way in order to get to switch cylinders perfectly. Kind of the same thing to get the double shot out of this, although it's super easy to get the single shot, so maybe you don't care, but the ability to have a 2-shot burst in something this big, like just go ta-da, and just clear everything is just awesome. Let me know what you think about the Nerf rival Hera pistol down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any ideas on how to make this thing a little more reliable, I'd love to hear it. Hopefully maybe Drew sees this video and can tell me where I went wrong, because I honestly don't know. Because mechanically, it seems like it works fine, but gremlins and whatnot. I'm Walcom S7. Thank you very much for watching this video, and of course I hope to see you in an entirely different one. And I do mean entirely different, because while I was busy building this thing, it's not the only thing I've been building. Stay tuned.